Hi everyone, I'm Dina with Mills Family Gardening. Today is February 16th. We live in North Texas, Zone 8A. And in this video, we'll be growing orange head tomato. We have a container here. You can see that it's not very big, but since this tomato gets to about 9 inches tall, this size container should be enough. This container has drainage holes on the bottom and also a saucer that would keep all the water in there. I already filled up the container with Miracle Grow container mix. It's organic, and I made the soil moist also. It was extremely dry, so I had to do a lot of mixing of water with the soil. So make sure your soil is moist before you plant your seeds. And we have our seeds right here. I'm going to get them out of the package. The seeds are actually very small. Here they are, since the tomato is extra dwarf. And I'm going to make an indentation of about 1/4 inch, and I'll put a few seeds in this container. And I'm going to grow only one plant in this container because the container is pretty small. I think I put about 5 or 6 seeds in there. That should be good enough. So I'll just cover the soil, and then I might want to spray the soil to keep it moist, but since it's already pretty moist, I'm not gonna do anything. Right now, I think I'll be keeping this plant inside the whole time. I just want to see how it will perform inside and if we'll be able to have a good harvest from it. And I'm going to keep the container under our grow lights right here. I'll have to raise the grow light. It's a little bit too low. But I'm not going to use any heating mat or a dome. I'll just keep the seeds in the container under the grow lights, and then the warmth from the grow light should be enough to keep the seeds warm. Now, if I notice the seeds do not come up for a long time, I'll place the container on top of our refrigerator where it gets much more warmth. Today is March 2nd, and our orange head tomato seedlings have come up. They actually came up 7 days after I planted the seeds because I kept them up in the refrigerator where it was warm. But today we will have to thin our seedlings because we cannot keep so many plants in one small container. I'm going to remove the weakest seedlings. For example, this one came up just recently. It looks very thin to me, so I'm going to just pinch it off with my fingers. I don't even need any scissors. All these seedlings look about the same quality to me, so it doesn't really matter which ones I'm going to pinch off. But I'm going also to look for seedlings with thicker stems, so the seedlings would look more stout. I'm going to keep 2 seedlings in the container just in case one of them dies. And as they keep growing, I'll remove the weaker seedling. I took this container out of the house, and now I'll put it back inside under our grow lights. Today is March 23rd, and our orange head tomato started putting out blossoms. Look at this cute little flower. It's tiny, but it's beautiful. I read that orange head tomatoes are self-pollinating. In other words, you don't need any bees or wind or anything to pollinate it, but I prefer to help the tomato plant to pollinate. I hand pollinate tomato flowers simply by flicking the main stem of the tomato plant, and that helps move the pollen where it needs to go on the flower. Now you can also see that the soil here on top has developed some white fungus, and it's okay because I've been making sure to not overwater the plants. Even if your potting soil has developed some fungal white strands, it's not deadly for the plant as long as you don't overwater it. But you can also see that we have some mushrooms growing here. Aren't they cute? And yet they're not hurting the plant either. If they're bothering you, you can simply remove them, get them out of the soil, and it will be okay. When we thinned out our seedlings, we left 2 of them in the container, and just recently, about 10 days ago, I removed the second seedling or plant at that point, and I put it in the water, and you can see that it grew some roots. And I hate throwing away this beautiful plant. And you can see that it's growing flowers also. So I'm simply going to plant it in the soil. And I filled up this container with Miracle Grow organic mix. It's already moist. And I'm just going to make an indentation here. And I'm going to use some organic all-purpose granular fertilizer and mix it with the soil a little bit, and then make a hole in the soil and plant this seedling straight into the hole. Make sure that your soil is moist. Actually, I think I'll water the soil again, because if you plant your seedlings in dry soil, then the dry soil will get moisture from the roots, will make the roots dry, and the seedling will die. For that reason, I'm going to make the soil moist real well. And now I'm going to make a hole in the soil It's really moist. I can see some water still in the soil, which is good. And then I'll plant the seedling into the soil like this. It can go in pretty deep, it's not a problem. And then I'll cover it with the soil. Make sure the soil is supporting the seedling real well. Now the level of the soil went down after I water it, so I'll have to add more soil on top. And then I'll make sure to water it again. And also make sure that your container has good drainage holes so that the water would not be sitting in the container. If it stays in the container, then the plant will die. And I'll keep these 2 containers in the house and we'll wait for them to set fruit and we'll come back. Today is April 13th and today we need to fertilize one of our orange head tomatoes. You can see the one on the right does not look as dark green or bright as the one on the left. And the one on the left is the one that we transplanted into the soil from the seedling that was in the water and grew roots in the water. And you can see that this one is much brighter. And that's because we planted it into really good quality soil. It was new soil, it was not used. And also, I believe I've added some fertilizer into this container. So we'll have to fertilize this plant too. Even though you can see that it's doing really well, it's loaded with tiny tomatoes. They're not ripe yet, but they look really good. But we're going to fertilize this plant. Container plants need to be fertilized regularly, at least once a week or once in a couple of weeks. Once a week is better. So I'm just going to use all-purpose organic fertilizer. And also, I just want to point out that all the mushrooms that you remember from last time, we made an update. Here they are, and they grew to their mature size and it did not hurt the plant at all. So I'm going to spread this fertilizer all over the soil and with a stick, mix it with the soil, the top layer of it. Now this fertilizer is organic and it will smell in the house. If you don't want it to smell in your house, then you can use synthetic fertilizer. Those fertilizers normally do not have any smell. Since it's hard to mix the fertilizer with the soil because the roots are shallow, I can see there's roots and I don't want to damage the roots, I could sprinkle some additional soil on top of the fertilizer to cover it up. And then after I sprinkle the soil, I would water the container real well. And we're done with fertilizing our tomato plant. And they will go back inside under the grow light. Today is April 20th and we need to prune our tomato plant. Orange head tomatoes are a determinate variety of tomatoes. So you can see that there's a leaf right here, and then there's the main branch. It's very thick. And between the main branch and the leaf, there's a little tiny plant that's growing. This tiny plant will produce new flowers and new fruit for us. But you can see that this leaf is old. Even if it's not old, we can still prune it and open air for the new plant to get some more air. You can see that this leaf is a little bit damaged, and I think it happened because we take it outside. It spends some time in the sun while we make videos, and normally it's inside under grow light, and so it gets a little bit sunburned. So we're going to remove the sunburnt leaves also, and then you'll be able to see a tiny new plant is just now starting to grow there. We're not going to prune this tiny plant because this tiny side shoot will grow new flowers and fruit. But we'll remove all the damaged leaves so that the plant will send its energy to the newer plants and will focus on the fruit production. I can see that this leaf is also a little bit damaged, so I will prune it away, at least this part, like that. Today is April 27th, and this is what our orange head tomato looks like after we pruned it. You can see that the little tomatoes are ripening, which is a good sign. And also, after I fertilize and prune the tomato, little side shoots are growing, and these will grow new flowers and produce new fruit. You can see that at the top, there is not much growth, although I can see it right here. There is a new side shoot growing, so it will grow flowers and new fruit also. So just because we don't see a lot of growth at the top, it doesn't mean the tomatoes stopped growing. It keeps growing side shoots and they will produce new tomatoes. So give more time to your orange head tomato. But today we're going to harvest tomato seeds from this tomato. And for that, I'm going to remove this ripe tomato, and you can tell that it's ripe by the bright orange color. And I'm going to open this little tomato, and you can see all the seeds inside. I'm pretty sure the seeds are ripe enough. I could have given more time for this tomato to ripen more on the plant, but I think it should be ripe enough. So I'm going to squeeze all the insides with the seeds of this tomato into the cup. There is a lot of seeds and pulp in there, but not enough liquid, so I'm just going to add just a little bit of water to make it more liquid. And now I'm going to cover it with plastic wrap, or you can use anything else that you want to cover the cup with. And I'm going to set it on a countertop for about 2 or 3 days. In 2 or 3 days, I will rinse the seeds and remove the seeds that are floating at the top. Those seeds are non-viable. And after I've rinsed the seeds, I will spread them on a plate and let them dry out for a week, and they'll be ready to be stored and planted again. There's one more ripe tomato right here, and I'm just curious to see what it's gonna taste like. So we're going to try it now. I really like the flavor of the tomato. It's not super sweet, but it's also not very sour. It tastes like a regular cherry tomato. Well, it's been fun growing orange head tomatoes. If you don't have a lot of garden space, orange head tomato is your tomato to grow. They grow really fast from seed to harvest, and I think I'll keep growing more of them in the future. Thank you so much for watching this video, and have a great day.